What's up, everybody? This is Case Study QB, and we are the Political Junkies, and we're coming with you with a midweek show because, you know, some breaking news came off, and we got this woman, Kamala Harris. She's the VP. So let's see who wants to jump in first on their comments, and then I got a couple questions that we're going to go into.
Listen, let's start from out of all the candidates, when we talked among ourselves, she was not on that top list. We wanted somebody. Karen Bass, maybe. I mean, we all wanted Nina Turner. We know that was not going to happen.
Yeah.
But Karen Bass was somebody that we all thought, you know, if Biden throws a bone, gives somebody that's progressive and it's not really a big threat to his establishment, but at least show us something, Karen Bass would have been good. But he just said, you know, just middle finger to your progressives, pretty much. You know, it's somebody that, you know, John's been saying since day one that he thought that was going to be the pick. You know, talk about that. Why do you think she was going to be the pick?
Well, I knew from day one she was going to be the pick. Why? Because if you look back at the history, right? If you read back articles from 2017 and stuff like Hillary, she went to the Hamptons, right, with Hillary and stuff. Wall Street loves her. We know Obama's calling the shot, you know, so they wanted someone. They just wanted to make sure that, what she says at the debate didn't really hurt her. They were just trying to pretend that they were considering other folks like Karen Bass, right? But we knew that she was going to be the pick from day one. So it's more of like, we're not surprised, but we were like, wow, like they really told us, like, you know, like you said, like middle finger to you guys, that we really don't care. Like for us progressive, we always have like that little bit of hope. We're like, maybe we're wrong. We want to be wrong, but like, are we really wrong? And we really try to remain positive. And then they'll be like,
go blue no matter who.
You're not wrong.
No matter who. That's what they want you to do. This is we're watching live the 2016 election mistakes being run over again. The same play. It's like if you're playing, I won't say football because we don't watch football. So, but we're watching somebody run a pick and roll, and you got a big center at the rim, and he blocks you. The next time down, you come down, you run the exact same play with the exact same driver, and he gets blocked again. That's what we're watching right now. We're watching them the exact same fail. Last time, he lost. Bernie, it was a big fight between Hillary. They could have picked anyone. They could have picked Warren at that time. They could have picked throw a bone to the progressives, and instead they picked Tim Kaine, who was arguably more conservative than Hillary Clinton. This time, you know, now they want to check the identity check boxes. Oh, it's a woman. It is a woman of color. And when you get to progressives don't care about checking the identity check boxes. We care about policy. You know, a lot of us weren't fans of Hillary, despite the fact that she would have been the first woman president because of her policy, because of her history. And what do we know about Kamala's history? We know that she's somebody who laughs on stage about throwing mothers in jail for truancy of their children who if they miss school. We see her laugh about smoking marijuana while having locked up many people for marijuana possession charges and marijuana usage. It's somebody who is not a progressive, who more recently has been voting more progressive because she knows those things aren't going to pass. So she can check her progressive boxes on her votes knowing that there's no risk in it. But we know that once she gets in to this Joe Biden White House, the reason they picked her is not because she's going to help him move. They picked her despite the fact that she basically called Joe Biden a racist on stage, live in a debate. And despite that, the reason why they're able to look at is because they know that at the end of the day, she is Biden part 2. If God forbid something happens to Biden where he's not able to continue in office, she's going to pick up right where he left off. And there's nothing to worry about, guys, because she's going to be the one to come in and do exactly the same plan, which is nothing.
Yep. You hit the nail right on the head, Gabe, when you said identity politics. I mean, in the beginning, he said, I'm going to pick a woman, right? That was his claim, right? And then all of a sudden, the black community started speaking up, well, it should be a black woman. And then the media caught on to that. Yeah, it should be a black woman. And they just keep repeating that narrative over and over again. And I mean, I wouldn't say he was handcuffed. Obviously, he's always trying to kowtow to the black community. But, I mean, it was basically obvious from day one, like John said, that, I mean, what is the only black woman that's going to basically continue my centrist policies after I'm gone. It was obviously Kamala Harris from the very beginning.
You saw they gave her a final test, though. You know, when Bernie had that bill to cut
good
military
point.
spending 10% to pay for the healthcare, necessities for the people from COVID-19.
Yep.
She voted no. So that was probably her final test to see, like, all right, are you with us or are you not with us? And we saw as soon as she got picked, we read about Wall Street people sending massive emails to all their contacts saying, like, look, this is proof that Biden is picking somebody that's not going to go too far to the left. He's with us. So, she checked all the boxes for them. Got the black woman that's also going to be a, centrist at best.
I want to pose
in.
a question to you guys. What does Kamala Harris bring, or Kamala, if I'm pronouncing her name wrong, I apologize.
Kamala.
What does vice presidential candidate Harris bring to the table? That's my question, because somebody who didn't even make it to a primary because she was polling so low. She was polling out of the top 3 in her own home state of California. Like, what does she bring? The black vote has been the most loyal vote helping Biden. They rescued him in South Carolina. So it's not even like they're shoring up the black vote, because the black vote has been Biden's most reliable vote thus far. So what does she bring to the table?
She brings nothing. It's the same thing as when you look at, like, and I'm from Virginia, Tim Kaine, right? Tim Kaine is a very well-known senator from Virginia. But they say, oh, he'll do well in the Latino community because he speaks Spanish and he did some work in Honduras. And, like, but he didn't bring nothing to the table. Like, he's a good senator, don't get me wrong, from Virginia. He done some stuff, but he doesn't bring anything to the table. And you can't tell us that out of all the black women, qualified women that are in politics, that Harris is the best one to represent the black community.
I think she does bring something, though. What she does bring is somebody that could hit back at Trump, because Biden is not. I mean, every time he opens his mouth, it's a foot that goes in there. Kamala is somebody that could go at Trump, and if Trump goes too hard at her, we know how he always talking about women. That's the one place that they think that they could get some traction. If he attacks a woman, and a woman that is a centrist, because he can't say she's too liberal. She can't, with a criminal justice background. And right now, all he's talking about is, being tough on crime and all this stuff. Kamala and Biden, tough on crime, and you're going to talk bad about them and a woman. They might turn out. Might turn out some suburban women right there.
Well, have you seen those ads and those email changes? Like, they call her like far, far, far left.
Yeah. And who believes that? I mean, some people are going to vote for Trump no matter what. But what they're hoping on is that some of those suburban white women that Trump is trying to kowtow to right now could get turned off if Trump hits her too hard.
But that's the thing, right? So, like, we know that the Trump base is set. The Biden base is set. Is Harris really going to motivate Latino vote or the youth vote to come out and vote for them?
No, but that's why he doesn't care about. If he wanted to do that, he would have gave us somebody more progressive. But since he doesn't, his strategy is to try to get those middle votes that are independent and moderate votes, that those people that were flip-flopping and voted for Trump but really didn't want to. That's what their strategy is, because if they really wanted the youth vote, they would have picked somebody else.
But they can't win. They cannot win with.
I'm saying that's what I think they think. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. That's what I think they think.
It's like what Gabe said. They copy and paste the same recipe of 2016. And
if you look at 2016, it was anything but an overwhelming win for Trump. What it was 70,000 people in a few states, mostly working class states, that took a gamble. They took a gamble on Trump, and they said, I know the Democrats aren't going to do anything for me. I know the Republicans aren't going to do anything for me. But this Trump guy, he might just flip the whole system on his head. Mm-hmm. He hasn't done much for them. And now you get into 20. We had a chance, the left, the progressives, the Democratic establishment, there was a chance to show something to those 70,000 people, to say, hey, we're with you. We want to pick somebody maybe pro-union, and give a bone to those 70,000 people. And I don't think the nomination of Joe Biden nor the pick of Kamala Harris is going to get you closer to getting those 70,000 people. And we know that 35 to 40 to 45% of people stay home during elections. I don't think it does anything to excite them either.
Yeah, I think
people who stay home and just don't vote, and you have to excite those people out. You got to give them something to vote for, and I don't think either pick does that as well. So it's playing with fire. They in 2016 they ran the most unpopular candidate in Democratic history against the most unpopular Democratic candidate in Republican history and presidential history. And we're doing something very similar now where we say that Trump is a huge threat, and we're playing with fire. If Trump is such a fascist threat, if he's such a horrible, horrible threat to our democracy as a foundation, how could you run a senile old man with all these problems and racism and a cop? It's like, you have one job. You have one job.
Carlito, I know you want to say something, so you go ahead, and then I'm going to pose a question and go to Izzy with that question
man.
first.
I
Go
think
ahead,
that's what they're counting on. They're counting since it's Trump and he's so terrible, they think they could get away with it. They could get away with, bringing in, Joe, Scranton Joe that takes the Amtrak, and he'll get those middle class voters.
Yeah.
And then as far as picking a centrist candidate from before, I mean, they're doing the same thing. It's paint by numbers. The only difference now is they're using a brown crayon.
Yeah.
The thing is, real quick, one quick point. The thing is that the Democrats are not ready for the chess move that Trump is about to pull. He's coming.
I will say though,
There's going to be a chess move coming, and they're not going to be ready for it.
To answer Gabe's question, though, I mean, the only thing, obviously we all know that this is a nonsense pick, but the only thing that I would say she does bring to the table is that she is a pit bull when it comes to, like, the public. She is seen as a pit bull. She attacked Biden in those debates hard. And so I think that since Biden can't do that to Trump, and Pence is, I mean, basically milquetoast, as our boy likes to say a lot, like that's the one thing that she does bring is that pit bull fighter mentality. Obviously, we all agree this, it's not going to help. It's not going to matter much at all. But at least to the public, she could be seen as that fighter type.
But we saw that she went for Biden, and she had her little cute line about "I was that girl that was bust" and all this stuff like that hit. But what is she gonna do when she's hit? And while Trump is, for all his terrible policies, he's hearing people like when Kim Kardashian tells him to release people from prison. He's showing that he's flexible and stuff like that. He's going to go, I'm trying to give Bone. There was, I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was a policy that he passed recently that was actually a pretty decent policy when it comes to prison reform. I can't remember off the top of my head. But when she comes on stage and when he gets hurt, he's going to say the same things that who said, that Tulsi Gabbard said, and she mutilated her on stage in front of America. People have forgotten about that. But all you got to do is say that one more time the same way. And there's plenty that Tulsi left out when she said that all the things that she brought up that were true about Kamala Harris. We haven't even talked about her failure to prosecute Steve Mnuchin from One West Bank, who was foreclosing illegally on service members that were overseas fighting. And there were
old
rules.
ladies.
I used to work in a mortgage company. There are rules that say of who you can institute foreclosures. They were prosecuting. They were not prosecuted. They were foreclosing on veterans. They were foreclosing on an old lady that owed something like, I think she owed
30 cents or something like that.
30 cents.
Yeah.
Like 30 cents on her mortgage through a clerical error. And they took her house because she owed 30 cents. They took this old woman's house. And Kamala Harris refused to prosecute him. And sure enough, what happened? Later on, when she's running, who was the only Democrat that took money from Steve Mnuchin? Kamala Harris.
Yeah. All right. So I want to jump in here real quick because I want to talk about first to what John said. I think we give Trump too much credit, man. Don't give Trump too much credit. I don't think he so far his campaign hasn't been as savvy as when he ran in 2016, and I personally think is because he doesn't have what's his name slipping me. Steve Bannon, I believe his name is. Steve Bannon is not the campaign manager or is not one of the advisors, and he's more of a populist guy, and he got kicked out of Trump's office once he got elected because he was actually trying to get Trump to raise taxes on the rich, and I think that he got politically assassinated. You could see on Morning Joe they were saying, "Oh, Steve Bannon is the real president, President Bannon." And you know how Trump is, that as soon as you put somebody above him, he's gonna kick them out of the White House, and they successfully did that with Steve Bannon. So we're gonna wait. Let's mark this day. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna look at John. We're gonna look at my assessment. We're gonna see somewhere down the line we get some kind of rook move or queen move to get to get to the.
It's coming.
All right, and then
case. I think he fired recently his old campaign manager, and I think one of the reasons like that was speculated was because they were giving him too much credit for Trump's success, so he got jealous and fired him.
This guy is a child. He's not that smart. And then I want to make a point to what Carlito said. If Bernie was there, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, he can't get Nina Turner," because they actually said, "Oh, she's too black," whatever that means. So he could have literally gotten a Nina Turner as his VP if he wanted to. And I personally think that's when you would have. Right now is really up to the presidential nominee to get the vice president. But if Bernie was the nominee and he wanted Nina Turner, now you're going to see all the what's the words, like the rules are going to come into play and the delegates are going to come into play and they're going to be like, nah, we don't want her, so we want this. Like right now they're just picking whoever it is. You understand what I'm saying?
They don't care. They're telling us this is what we're doing. You're falling in line. You blow no matter who, and that's what you're going to do. And if we end up losing, it's your fault and not ours. That's what they do.
So let me go into this question. Gabe, you want to say something real quick, or let me go?
I was going to say real quick. John was talking about the master chess move, but what happens when Joe Biden has to be on a debate stage with Trump? Like, if it happens. If it doesn't happen, Biden's going to cruise to the White House, honestly. Mm-hmm. But if it happens,
let's just pray it doesn't happen.
If it happens, I mean, when the circles that Trump's going to run around him, on all angles that Joe's not even going to be able to respond, it's scary.
Man, at this rate, we're not going to have any debates then, because we know that Mother is not going to let Pence debate a woman.
So the question I want to pose is, I personally think Amy Klobuchar was promised the VP pick and to get out of the race. Biden called her up and said, "Hey, we need to consolidate the moderates." She said, "I ain't coming out. I'm about to make a comeback right now." They said, "Listen, we all gonna come against you, but if you join us, we'll make you VP." And I think, what would that look like? Would you guys prefer Amy Klobuchar, or let's go with that question first?
I think Gabe hit the nail on the head in the last overtime for Political Junkies, where he basically said it really doesn't matter, right? At the end of the day, no VP pick is going to make any difference when it comes to progressive policy. One thing I will say, I think Alito was the one that brought up the Pentagon budget, reducing by 10%. Klobuchar did actually vote yes for it. I don't know if that cost her at all. I mean, I doubt it. We talked about the fact that we wanted, that they wanted a black woman to be VP, but she at least did that symbolic vote. I mean, give her a half a point for that, I guess.
That's true.
Good point.
Aside from that, they're essentially the same.
Go ahead, John.
They're all the same. There's Amy Klobuchar, anybody from that centrist squad, they're the same. You could just swap the name and it's the same policies.
Izzy brought up that vote, but would we be able to bend a Kamala? Because even before she ran, she jumped on board for Medicare for All. She didn't even tell her staff. I remember that video. She came out, she was talking in front of an audience, and she said, "I didn't tell my staff, so they're going to be surprised by this, but I'm for Medicare for All." Which, to me, that just shows you how unprogressive she is, because she had to surprise her staff and all this stuff. Go ahead, John.
She said that just for the hope that she will get some vote in California. She only got 7%.
Yeah, she didn't win her state.
She got 7% in her own state, so she will say anything that she wants, just to say that, people would say that she's progressive. She's not progressive at all.
We think it's harder to push from the grassroots, from the outside pressures, Kamala Harris or Amy Klobuchar?
Same difference.
Yeah, that's a tough question. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
The only problem I have is that the grassroots haven't shown that they are even strong right now. Like this.
Go
ahead.
But let me answer your question about the pick. Because I think it's a lot of us don't give Obama some type of credit. Obama did the same thing that he did with voters, right? He promised us all this big change, and I think he did the same thing to the whole group. Like, Elizabeth Warren in the world, the Yang of the world.
You're gonna be VP. You're gonna be VP.
They were like, you're gonna give you this, I'm gonna give you this, you're gonna be VP, this. They got nothing. They don't get a speech at the convention. They don't even get considered for VP. So
how does Yang feel right now? How does Andrew Yang feel right now?
Oh my goodness.
So they sold their soul for nothing, for literally nothing. Obama pulled that, like, all great speech, like, oh, we got to be in this together. We got to fall behind Joe. You're going to get this. You're going to get that. And, like, where's Warren? Warren did he win in the VP?
Yeah. Maybe cabinet positions or something. I don't know.
Look, listen to this. Like, we get Republicans to speak at the convention before we even give Andrew Yang or even AOC a spot. AOC got a spot because people went crazy. And she's getting that big of a stage and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
I mean, so they pull their move. They, like I said again, like we said at the beginning, copy and paste, hope for different results.
Not only that, but since we're talking about convention speeches, they only have, I think, like 2 Latinos that's going to speak. Well, I was watching Bree Joy Gray's Twitter, and she said that she had a tweet where in 2008 they had like 11 Latinos or so. It was like a whole bunch of people it had a lot more diversity than they had right now.
The Democrats don't care about the Latino vote or the Black vote. They take us for granted all the time.
Yeah.
They say they're going to vote for us, and then, they don't understand. They don't understand the different type of Latinos, the Florida Latinos, the Texas Latinos, and all different Latinos from different. So they're just going to say, oh, you're going to fall in line. That's what they tell us. You're going to fall in line. Don't fall in line. We're going to blame you. So when we're home, we don't vote or we do something else. They were like, oh, it's your fault because you didn't fall in line and we told you this was going to happen. Like, Trump is bad is not a reason to get us deciding, to get us out there voting. Because when you look at it, you speak to some Latino and they're like, Obama deported more people than anybody else from our race. So it's like, we've been promised immigration refund since when? Since like Clinton's day. Clinton didn't do it. Bush didn't do it. Obama didn't do it. So what do we really have to gain from it, right? So it's like...
Beware of the buzzwords. We were talking about that today offline. Is that there's all these buzzwords of the Democrats are for comprehensive Medicare reform. They're for immigration reform. They're for police reform. What's the policy, bro? What's the policy? Is it Medicare for all, which you're going to institute in this way? Is it going to be tuition-free college that's going to be funded by taxpayers here, here, and here? What's the cost? $60 billion. They just give you buzzwords to make you feel better about yourself, to say that they quote unquote progressive, and there's no meat behind it. It's just buzzwords. So I just be very wary of the Democratic buzzwords that are really not going to give you anything.
Izzy, will Kamala be easy to beat in 2024?
Man, beat by who? I mean, are we talking about a left primary challenger out of nowhere? Are we talking about Republicans? I mean,
you know what?
We don't know how that's going to go yet.
That's a good question because let me pose it this way, because we don't know if the media or the establishment are going to try to prevent some kind of challenge. Let's just assume that Biden is not going to run again, right? They're going to try to clear the way like they did for Obama back in was it for Obama? Yeah, back in 2012 when Obama was going for the second term, Bernie was thinking about challenging him. And basically, behind the scenes, they squashed that. So I'm sure they're going to try to do that this time around. So do you think that the establishment is going to try to prevent a melee like how we had this time around, like 10 people running for office? Or are they going to – what do you think about that, Izzy?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to really challenge any of the – whether it's Biden or Kamala, I don't think they're going to challenge from the left. But what I will say, though, is that it's kind of unprecedented to talk about this, right? Because we haven't had a lot of presidencies that only ended one term voluntarily, or even by death. We don't have a lot of instances of that. Let's say she became president for whatever reason, she assumed the role before 2024, or she just she's the one running because Biden's not going to run again. She doesn't. I don't see anything about her that's we talk about Biden not being inspiring, right? I don't see anything about her that's inspiring either. At least, it was basically a guarantee that Obama was going to win the election because he inspired people. And obviously it turned out, to be facetious, but he at least did that. I don't see anything about Kamala. If she has to run all on her own in 2024, I mean, you know, you're still going to have the same conservatives basically labeling her a socialist, lefty, whatever they want to call her. So they're still going to get their right people out. And how are we gonna inspire people to come out again? I just don't see it.
You know, I think that's what their move right now was. I think this a preemptive move, because before you have Obama, first black president, then you have Hillary, potentially first female president. Now, who's going to challenge, you know, if Biden wins and then Kamala runs, who's going to challenge the first possible black woman president? It's like, with our powers combined, you know, how are they going to challenge that?
It's going to be challenged by another black woman. Nina's going to run.
Hey, that's our best hope right there. I was going to go in that direction. I know Izzy said that she won't be challenged from the left. I think he meant like the conservative, like, part of the party, right? She won't be there.
Nina is definitely primary.
So I'm thinking, so we're going to need a challenge. The challenge would have to come from the left in the sense of an outsider, or somebody like an AOC, or somebody hopefully from that side of the party. But, you know, AOC has been trying to work from the inside more. So it'll be interesting to see if she does not run, even though the establishment does not want to.
I don't know if she's even eligible at that time.
No, she'll be eligible.
She'll be eligible, but she's not running. LC is just, in 2022, she's going to run for Chuck's seat. She's going to do the Senate for 6 years. And she's not going to.
Why wouldn't she run, though? Why do you think she wouldn't?
Why would she at that time try to go against like Kamala? You know that we know that she doesn't go even against Pelosi at times, you know? So it's like Nina's the one that will go against them. Like Nina will be like, you know, Nina does not care, and she's going to go after them because she's going to call them on their BS. I don't think LC will do it. I think
me being selfish, I would want inside-outside track, right? So the outside track would be Nina, who I don't want. People are saying that she should run for this office, that office. No, I don't want her running for office, because let's say she's going to win. Whatever she runs for, I have faith that she will win. And now you're an insider. And so now you have to conform to certain things. Me being selfish, I want her to stay on the outside, do the podcast, build relationships with the grassroots, meet the different organizations, do it on a low, and then like maybe 2 years before it's time to run, boom, jump into the race and go running from the outside. Be bold as we know she could be.
She's been in the inside before. And she not
exactly. And I think that's why she wouldn't run again, or run for office to be on the inside currently. So because she knows how it is that when you're on the inside, you have to conform to certain things. You know what I'm saying? So the outside, that's the outside track. The inside track would be AOC. I would want her to run for Senate, do exactly what Obama did. You run for Senate, and then 2 years into it, he ran for president and he won. So that he did something unconventional. And usually people will say, oh, you got to wait your turn. And he didn't, and he got all the way through. So AOC do the same thing. We have that insider's outsider. AOC is really good with the media. The media love her right now. Nina, she could get on Joy Reid's show. I think after a while she might fall out of favor with them.
Yeah, but I don't think AOC will, like, she has it in her to primary like Harris, if Harris is it.
That's really? I don't think so. Hey, Izzy, go ahead.
I was just gonna say she would the media would turn on her so quickly. Yeah, she's a media darling now, but to run against Harris when we all expect Harris to be the nominee for 2024, the media would turn on AOC so quickly.
AOC doesn't endorse like incumbent like Democrats right now that they like, you know, like Nancy Pelosi's peoples and stuff like that. Now, all outside of New York, like, yeah, she does New York, but outside of New York.
This is the thing with AOC. Somehow she is Teflon Don when it comes to the media. Like, almost she could do no wrong to a certain extent. Like, I think that, and I remember watching a focus group where it was like 6 of them, and they asked people raise their hand if they were for Bernie. I think maybe one person, or if not, none raised their hand for Bernie. They asked other questions, and then towards the end, they asked who's for AOC. Everybody raised their hand. They said, oh, she's refreshing. She's going to give the establishment a hard time.
Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, your thoughts? She's badass.
Man, oh my God.
Yay! I love her.
Wow. What a woman. Amazing. And
again.
Yes. I mean, she's asking the right questions. I don't feel like she's playing games. I'm so excited about her. She is smart, she is intelligent, and I cannot wait to see what else she does.
Well, I know
And you
she's
know,
got the
too-
Democratic Party nervous, and I mean, in a way, they should be nervous because she does represent the new guard, the new generation.
Everything that Bernie would do, but because she's maybe I don't want to assume I'm in their minds, but I'm thinking because she's an attractive female, articulate, and very likable. That's the key thing right there, likable.
Intelligent, economics background.
Yeah. I think the media is going to have a tough time going against that because the people like AOC, therefore the media knows they have to go along with it.
I think she's got to run the Senate first before she becomes before she's going to be sharp enough. I think she's gonna play the game and check off the boxes. Yeah. I think she will be president one day. But I wanted to bring it back to will Kamala be easy to beat in 2024? I mean, it really depends on what the Biden administration does when they get in there. I would love to be proved wrong in everything that we're saying right now. There would be nothing that would make me happier than to be absolutely wrong about a Joe Biden, Kamala Harris administration, that they push for progressive reforms, maybe they pass a public option, that they do something, that they raise the minimum wage, and then I would be like, you know what? You guys did something. Now, that's going to determine whether they get ahead in 2024. If they lower the Medicare age to 60, that's not a winning policy. If they lower the Medicare age to 60, that's less than what Hillary said she was going to do. So it's really up to them to show us if they deserve being elected in 2024, because right now the whole Democratic platform is beat Donald Trump. And what happens? What is your platform? What is your ground to stand on when there's no more Donald Trump boogeyman? When they find either a young Latina woman or a black woman or black man to come in and fight the conservative identity battle against Kamala Harris in 2024, and they're a better speaker than her, and they could convince you, and it's not Donald Trump, you might lose a lot of those votes. So a lot of the people, you have to inspire the people, and they might have 4 years to do it, and if they do it, they better not waste those 4 years, because I'm a strong believer that if they waste those 4 years, it's going to be a one-term presidency, regardless of Joe Biden running again, or if it's going to be Kamala next time.
Yeah, I'm so cynical that I don't even think that they're going to lower the age to any. They're not going to do that. They're going to pass
63.
They're going to pass something, but they're not going to lower the age, because the original intent for Medicare for All, I learned this from Tom Hartman, was to keep decreasing the age. Right? They were going to initially pass it for older folks, and they were able to pass it fairly easy because the health insurance companies wanted to get the old people off of their rolls, and the government did that. But what was supposed to happen was, like 5 years later, the Democrats were supposed to readdress the issue and keep bringing down that age until everybody was covered, and they didn't do that. So I think the insurance companies don't want to have a budge on that particular issue right there.
Gabe, let me ask you a quick question. So, do you think Tulsi will run in 2024?
Absolutely. I don't see why she wouldn't. I think that she already knocked out Kamala once, and I think she'll do it again. So
there you go. So that's right there. Three.
The only thing I hope for is that at the end we don't split the vote and let Kamala win again. Do it like Biden won out of consolidation.
Yeah. We got to consolidate our vote. Yeah, I see.
Right. Like whether it's, all the women that we mentioned or anybody else that comes along, have the debates, everybody come in, have a good field, but, figure out who's the strongest progressive candidate and have that person be it versus splitting the vote, amongst, three candidates versus Kamala.
The good news is that Nina Turner and Tulsi Gabbard has a good relationship. So I think they would be able to work together. Whoever's ahead, they'll be able to cut a deal with the other person for whatever they want. Secretary of State for Tulsi Gabbard, Nina Turner, whatever position she wants to be in. AOC, I haven't seen that same camaraderie with Nina. Definitely not with Tulsi, to be honest.
I mean, AOC hasn't been in the game as long as either. She's the youngest one, so she's still establishing herself. So I don't want to label her too hard either way just yet. I want to give her a chance. She's only been there not even 2 years, man.
I'll give her this much. I think that she would drop out if she saw that she was in the head. So let's say Nina's killing it right now on the progressive side, on the left side, and Tulsi and AOC's were on the outside. I think she would drop out, I think.
Yeah, and we also know that the three of them are better deal maker than Bernie, because we know Bernie can make a deal. Bernie's terrible at deal making.
He hurt my heart, man. No Jesse Ventura.
Advantage.
Oh man.
If we want to look at a glass half full for 2024, the best glass half full that's going to be is that right now, Joe Biden is getting ahead a lot on his previous experience as the vice president to Obama. So that automatically will get you a lot of the black vote. It's hands down. He was the right-hand man, and now he's going to be the front-hand man. And he's going to have to show what he can do. And if he has 4 years of nothing, that black vote that has been so low is not going to back him. They're going to back whatever the progressive incumbent is. And if he drops out and Kamala was there and she didn't really push him to do much, then it's going to be, another hopefully black woman of color that's progressive that can come in and knock them off and take the White House for the progressives. So you can only run on Obama's legacy for so long. But once you get in the chair, what are you going to do with it?
Roland Martin had a tweet where he brought up basically the question of who you got was the end of that tweet. And basically, I took it as he wanted to know, how can the Harris or the Biden-Harris ticket get my vote? And this is the answer that I put on Twitter on Case Study QB. I would like them to give an executive order that they would pass ranked choice voting at the federal level, because I don't know if they could do it at the state level and at the city level unilaterally. But I think an executive order or just to forcefully support ranked choice voting, which means moving forward, we won't have to keep picking between the lesser of two evils. We can pick our conscience and go from there.
Here's the problem I have with people like Roland, right? His tweets first already call us haters, right? So if you have a disagreement, you're automatically a Harris hater or Biden hater, or Bernie bros or whatever. Why can't he just ask the question without trying to shame people, right? Because this is Democrats want our votes, and they always shaming us. They always like, oh, how are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? You're just a hater. So all of a sudden, the past doesn't matter. So when we go into any politician, and we always base politicians based on their records, right? So that's when you go into politics, everybody knows, like your past always come back and haunt you or make you great, depending on which side of the aisles you are. So yeah, we have to talk about the past. And yes, we have concern. And yes, we know, like everybody knows that Biden and Harris is just a little bit better than Trump and Pence. It's not like, oh my God, they like, we know they better. But again, like all you keep telling us is Trump and Pence are bad. Trump and Pence are bad. Tell me, give me one thing. Tell me one thing of like, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this for you. Like, I'm going to entertain the idea of Medicare for all. Was it today or yesterday when Biden asked the question, they asked him, if Medicare for all will hit your desk, will you vote for it? It's never going to hit my desk. Like, how am I supposed to get excited? That guy, you know what I mean? So it's like, you have to at least entertain the idea to get people excited to vote for you and stop like just screwing us and say, you know what?
John, how can they get your vote?
Just give me something, anything. Just give me something. Tell me like, hey, like I'm going to like entertain this idea. And not a task for, not I'm going to give Bernie a task for. Like, no, tell me like just anything. Like, I'm going to raise the federal minimum wage to something like something that we believe that our movement believe in, and be like, you know what? Okay, maybe I'm not going to get 9 out of 10 things, but maybe I'm getting one. So maybe I should definitely consider myself voting for it. But they're not giving us anything. Everything that comes to them is no, no, no. You should just vote for us because Trump and Pence are bad.
So I think for me, one thing they could do, and I'm stealing this from Kyle Kalinske, is come out with a list of executive orders that they're going to support day one to show that they can make some change immediately. One that is just a slam dunk, a layup, is removing marijuana from the list of Schedule I drugs, decriminalizing and releasing all nonviolent marijuana possession charges, and expunging the history of those that have already had marijuana convictions and incarcerations. Marijuana, we know, is not a bad drug. It's much less dangerous, or is compared to alcohol, something that if you drink a liter of vodka, you can die. If you smoke a lot of marijuana or cannabis, you're going to be just fine in a few days. You might be a little sleepy and get the munchies. So we know that the safety is there. I say this as a person who doesn't smoke because I have asthma, but it's such a common sense position that you could have something that is so dangerous like alcohol that you literally can poison yourself if you drink too much and die in one night, versus something that's a plant that's natural in its natural form and it can't really hurt anybody. And you're separating families. You're locking up a whole generation of fathers for possession charges. And I think that's one layup thing that you can give me, that you're gonna start undoing the wrongs of the war on drugs that took place, where drug usage should not be criminalized. And now you see that when the opioid epidemic started hitting, conservative America, it became all of a sudden a health crisis, and it wasn't a criminal justice issue anymore. So if they did that, I would consider that an olive branch. I don't know if that's enough, but it may be. If they told me I was gonna do that, I would do it. I would vote.
Carlito.
Yeah, I mean, any of those things are good. Medicare for is probably the number one thing, but something that I just thought about right now is real police reform. I know the Biden just wants to, give cops more money, but even without defunding the police, I think they could do something that, we learned from one of our commenters in the previous video that Colorado is doing right now, which is not completely eliminating, but seriously and constricting qualified immunity for the cops. The body cameras, mandatory body cameras, regulations about, I think it's their bill said that they have to be released within 35 days, all video. They got to get consent from, anybody that might be on there, but 45 days it has to be out. If they give me those things, even without defunding the police, but really holding them accountable, then that would be something that could let me know that they're giving me something. Let me a little bit excited about it.
Yeah, don't come and tell us that you're gonna give them a $300 million budget to educate them.
Yeah, go ahead, Izzy.
So I'll say two things. One is that I completely reject Roland Martin's question. I mean, as we all kind of do, we don't just have two choices. We have more than that. We can choose to vote third party. We can choose to not vote for the president and vote down the ticket. I mean, that we don't. He's asking which one has a better shot at getting our issues addressed. The answer is neither. Honestly, neither. We have no chance of getting any of our issues addressed. But what I will say is that as the environmentalist of the group, as the quote unquote scientist of the group, Green New Deal, you give me that, you got my vote. That is single-handedly, I truly believe we have 10 years or less to completely do a 180 on the way we are destroying this environment, or else our species will not survive. I truly do believe that. If you give me a Green New Deal that fixes that problem, at least in this country, over the next 10 years, you got my vote. Anything short of that, I'm afraid for our future, to be honest.
So he's not going to do the whole Green New Deal, but is there a specific policy within the Green New Deal that if he seriously comes out and campaigns on it, what would that be from the Green New Deal?
You got to do that. That's the problem. I'm done kind of talking about, here are the things that we can sacrifice for the environment in order to try to make this work. We don't have time to sacrifice that. I'm sorry that we just don't. Yeah. So, I mean, the Green New Deal, right? You implement, let's say you reduce fossil fuel emissions. Let's say you start, running completely off of renewable energy. Why not? I mean, you're going to have to give people jobs, right? So you're going to have to give them training. We need it all. Unfortunately, we're at the point where we just need it all because we didn't plan for this 20, 30 years ago.
Nah, totally. I totally agree with that. The last thing we're going to talk about is a tweet that it was a really good point that this guy, Rick Paulus, that he put out there that had a Daily Beast headline, two headlines. One that said Bernie bros are loud, proud, and toxic to Sanders' campaign. And then another Daily Beast post that said, Kamala Harris built a digital army. Now she gets to use it. And it just shows the bias between what they call the Bernie Bros and then what we call the K-Hive and how it is portrayed in the media. And to me, it just shows how much the media is a super PAC for who they prefer. So that's why I think it is important for AOC to be a media darling to a certain extent, to play that insider's track to a certain extent, and we'll see how it goes. But I'll let you guys talk about this tweet. Go ahead.
Again, this goes back to the point, right? These are the people that's supposed to be getting us decided to vote for their candidate and fall in line, right? like you're not going to get people excited by keep calling them toxic, right? Because everything is Bernie Bros did this, but Biden's people, they are as bad, if not more bad. And we weren't bad. We tell them this is what we want and this is what we need, and they don't like it. So they call that toxic because we keep demanding the things that we stand for. We are over people. Like people will get mad. Oh, Bernie, we call out Bernie. We don't care. Bernie let us down. We can move on. Find the next person that believes in our policy. So that next person's gonna be what AOC now is a darling. But if the minute we start demanding our stuff, we're gonna be AOC bros and we toxic too.
This is just one small example of the media and establishment collusion, to say that word. Because we have talks with different people that we know where when we talk about, well, if Bernie was so great, how come people just didn't vote for him? And if you mention, well, look at the way the media portrays him, they want to dismiss it. But look at a prime example right there. When you have two groups in social media that are excited about the candidate that they support, if the media doesn't like that candidate, they go to call him toxic. If the media supports that candidate, they call it what? A digital army.
Yeah.
So it's an example of how the media can manufacture consent for whatever they want.
Exactly. I mean, I give a personal example that I love my mother-in-law. She's really into politics, and I had her sat her down and watched the Bernie blackout, and she was really amazed by that documentary, and she saw from a different point of view how the media covered Bernie Sanders. But like I think it was like a week or two later, my wife said she had a conversation with her, and she brought up something about Bernie supporters are so mean. So it was like after she watched the Bernie blackout, and it's still because she watched CNN so often in these mainstream media, it still can creep back into your mind.
Yeah, I mean, she just saw one little documentary, but the other side just keeps reinforcing it day after day after day.
By watching CNN.
It's hard to fight that. And that's why hopefully, independent media and, maybe us could do a little bit of, our part to get people informed and show them, not that they have to agree with us, but at least show them a different perspective so they could, make better decisions.
Can we do Shaun King real quick?
Yeah, sure. Let's bring in Shaun King.
I'm very disappointed. I don't know, Case, if you want to run through it real quick, or we'll put it up on the screen, but I've been a big Shaun King fan, like, for a while. And I've always been hearing the people that have said, watch out for him. He's going to go whichever way the wind blows, and watch out, he's a charlatan. And I've never really given that too much credit because I'm like, at a minimum, he's posting videos. He's getting the news out there. I'm seeing a lot of first-time clips of police brutality that I'm seeing through him. But for him, like he has tweets in the past where he was showing that he would never support Joe Biden and Kamala. And then now, Kamala's the vice president, and he's praising her and her accolades and this as a black woman, HBCU grad. It's like, to me, as a Hispanic male, if Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio is the president, as a Hispanic man, he's a very educated this, and because of that, I got to support my team. Like, no, just because they're your skin color, it doesn't make you the person that they're the right person for the job. It matters about the policies. I would never go and say, oh, Marco Rubio is so educated now, I'm going to hands down support him for the Republican nomination because he is Spanish or he's Latino. It's like, it just really hurt me to see that it's a big flip and it's sad.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, again, like, never, don't not to take credit for the work that he's done. He has done a lot of good work for the criminal justice reform and, everything, and still respect the guy. But yeah, I was definitely disappointed when I see that, you go in and all of a sudden, like Gabe said, like, oh yeah, Harris is so progressive. Let's forget her past, she's been so great since she's been in the Senate and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And it's just like, really, bro? Like you didn't have to praise her. You could say, yeah, something, and then when you get called out on it, you go and put your other tweet like, oh yeah, in 2018, I said this, or 2017, I said this, but she have grown on me. And I get it. Like, people do grow on you and stuff, but like, you're supposed to be a progressive, like, icon. And
didn't he meet with her? Or her team or somebody?
Something. I mean, he did something, but again, like, don't call her a progressive.
Because I think that could be something, because we know how sometimes the media, they're afraid to call out people when they want that access. You know,
Yeah,
like
that's true.
So it's possible that because he's been I don't remember where I read it, but there was an interview, or they interviewed a few people, and they were, you know, pumping on Kamala Harris. But they interviewed him, and he was talking about how I think he met with her people, and she
Yes.
explained his policies of where she is now, and you know, and now he's talking about how he's seen her growth. So I think, you know, it could have been one of those things where maybe starstruck, maybe just having access, maybe. You know, it's like with Trump. You know, people say like, well, you know, he's good with me. He's
Yeah.
friendly with me, you know, and they ignore a lot of the bigger picture just because they're a good person to them. So having that access could influence the way he sees her now.
Yeah, but don't offend us and call her a progressive. Like,
Nah, I totally agree with you, John.
I found that offensive. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
You can say, hey, I'm supporting the party. I will vote for it. You know, I completely need to take Trump out. But when you call, you know, Harris a progressive, you being offensive to our movement.
Yeah, the way they try to voter shame, you know, people that want to not vote for Biden or third party, you know, I'm not gonna voter shame people that want to support Biden for what, you know, just because they think is better than having Trump. But don't lie saying that he's great or she's great or progressive or anything like that, because you know, then dishonest. Then I don't believe you. I don't believe you. You know, if you want to support somebody because you think there is a, you know, a greater threat from Trump, then you know, that's your right as a citizen. But you know, don't come lie to us, please.
And that's and again, that's like one thing that we're here for. Like, we're not where to vote, how to vote, right? We're not here. We know what it is to be voter shame on, like people trying to say, and a lot of us haven't even make a decision, right? We just form our opinion, and they already voter shame us. Like, if you believe that Biden Harris is the ticket for you, go for it. Like, you have your right. That's why it says the right to vote. But I hate the notion of like a vote for a third party is a vote for Trump, or a vote for no vote is a vote for Trump. Like, I hate that notion, and I hate when people say that. A vote for Trump is a vote for Trump.
Yeah.
It's a vote for Biden.
I know that Bernie, a lot of us are mad at Bernie right now for a lot of the weakness that he's shown. But one thing that Bernie will always be the OG of the progressive movement is because he has shown us the type of politician that can stick to his values for years after year after year, for over 30 years. And he has been the model of what we want in a politician. Maybe at the edges you can find disagreements, but at his core, he is solid. And for us on the progressive movement, our leaders, people like Shaun King, who I consider a leader, he was a big prominent surrogate in the Bernie Sanders campaign. I can't understand why we keep getting tricked. Like, this Kamala Harris is jello. She shapes to whatever she needs to shape to get the next position. And I don't understand why he can't see that. As soon as a politician shows you who they are, believe them for the rest of their careers, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if he can't see it. You know, maybe he's seen it. He just sees some advantage in it.
Is he?
I agree with you, Case, and you know, it's this whole discussion is almost giving me PTSD, right? Because back in 2008, no, I'll tell you why. Because back in 2008, I was a huge Van Jones supporter, right? I actually have the Green Collar Economy book. I have it autographed by Van Jones, and I mean, he would come out with clip after clip after clip, all the way up until probably like 2015, even some points in 2016. You know, as the progressive leader, you know, he had a lot of great things to say about Bernie in the beginning. And then all of a sudden you see him more on CNN and all that. And all of a sudden the narrative starts to change all the way up until 2020. And there were times I would look at that guy and I'm like, who are you? What are you even saying to the people right now? And it's exactly the same thing that's happening with Shaun King. I agree with Gabe. You know, he's been a leader through this criminal justice movement. He's taught me so much about how Black people get treated by the cops and by the rest of society. And I'm looking at him now like, what are you doing? I don't even know who you are. It's extremely disappointing.
Yeah, he mentioned Susan Rice before Kamala Harris was officially picked. He was like, oh, we have a whole bunch of prominent Black women who can be picked, Kamala Harris. And then he mentioned Susan Rice. And I'm like, really? And you're supposed to be our progressive voice on CNN?
When he said Harris is the most progressive VP nominee in the American history, I just like hit my head like on the wall or something. I was like, what is, I thought his Twitter account must have been hacked or something.
But I thought when I read that, it's like, man, if this is true, that says something horrible about American history.
Yeah. All right, guys. Much love to my political junkies. This is our midweek podcast to try to tackle this. We're really disheartened, as you can tell. But let me give a little quick teaser for this Saturday or next time the next full episode drops. We're going to have Nico back. We're going to have Kit from Harlan's Media, Kit Cabela. But we had our man Nico shout us out on his live. It was really nice, but then he said that we didn't want to debate. We don't want to debate. What you guys feel about that real quick? He said that we didn't want to debate.
We're debating him.
We gonna debate him. And what we gonna debate him on?
Or whatever he wants.
Oh.
And if he wants to come and talk about Tulsi, we're gonna debate him.
No, John, I'm letting him know.
Let him know. Put it on camera. Put it on live.
John, let me talk, man. I'm trying to set this up. Jeez. All right. So what we gonna debate? We gonna debate AOC. You know, Nico had that big article that kind of caught fire on the internet. So we're gonna give the other side of the story. You know, some people are gonna be for him, some people are gonna be against him. So we're gonna have a nice, lovely debate with our brother and our fellow MCSC members. So look forward to that, and that's coming soon. All right.